Hello, listener. Welcome to this Fun Friday episode. We are so excited to have Natalie Sue on with us, author of one of the books that is in our TBR crate. And so we're so excited to interview her and to get a few fun book recommendations. So, Natalie, why don't you tell us a little bit about us, or a little bit about you and yourself, and about your most recent release that we just featured.
I'm Natalie Sue. I'm the author of I Hope This Finds You Well, and it's an office dramedy about a bit of a mess of a person who is leading a slightly heartbreaking life, and she is punished for adding postscripts to her emails. And the punishment is some restrictions on her emails. Only the punishment backfires, and she is accidentally granted access to all of her colleagues' inboxes and DMs. And she ends up using this intel to sort of save her job because it looks like there's some incoming layoffs on the horizon. And it leads to some pretty funny moments, I'd like to think, and some heartwarming moments too, as she learns more about her colleagues.
Perfect. Thank you. That was the perfect pitch. And we were just so excited to feature you and to feature your book. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about books that have impacted your life. And we can jump right into it. So you have 5-ish books to share with us today.
I do, yes. So the first book is... there's some graphic novels called Hyperbole and a Half and Solutions and Other Problems by Allie Brosh. And I really, really loved both of these books because they are just like, they delve so deeply into the minutia of like little like micro stories that sort of all link together on humanity. Like they make a sort of comments on humanity and just the human experience in a really fun way. So how she'll sort of talk about it is through like little like bite-sized stories, and like for example, it'll be a mystery about like someone pooped in their house, and like it happens for 3 nights in a row, and they're just sort of figuring out how that happened. And it's just sort of a memoir about like all the like funniest little snippets. And what I liked about them and how it impacted me so much is that it just really, like the way she observes the world kind of forced me to observe the world in a similar way, in that just sort of like noting the little funny things that can happen in life. So,
oh, I love it. It reminds me a little bit of David Sedaris. I've read several of his essays, and he does that same thing where it's just a like an ironic observation kind of a thing, or finding irony in just the everyday or humor. So I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, like even though it's a graphic novel, it totally does read like a essay collection in that way, and like a memoir. So yeah, that's cool.
I love it.
The next one, probably everyone will know, is Sadie by Courtney Summers, another Canadian author. And what I loved about this one is that it kind of really turned me on to suspenses and thrillers, and it lit a switch in me that I haven't been able to put off ever since I read that first suspense. And I love the way that she uses mixed media in her story, like with the podcast woven in. I think it was one of the like earlier versions of that I've seen, and I really, really enjoyed that. And it just it made me a little bit outraged, and it was just, the pacing was just so good. And even though I don't write thrillers, I really, really love like trying to channel that pacing in some way. And so that's why I love Sadie so much.
I haven't read that one yet. I was just thinking, because I'm like, I've seen it and it's been on my list, but I haven't read it. And I'm all, this is good information for me to hear because it's going to get bumped up.
Yeah. And also I have found that just a lot of people in our reading circle have kind of started to pick up thrillers more frequently.
It's definitely picking up traction.
Just in our circle, I feel like there's kind of a resurgence of people adding thrillers to their reading list. So I'm excited for that one too.
Yeah.
If you do read it, I also recommend if you listen to audiobooks. It has a great audio version because of the podcasts. Yeah.
I love a good audiobook recommendation, because there are some books that are just, the audiobook makes it even more better. Better. It makes a difference. There's some that the book feels like it was written to be consumed as an audiobook. And so I didn't even think about the podcast, but that's such a brilliant recommendation.
Thanks. The next book is Anybody Out There by Marian Keyes, and really anything written by Marian Keyes. In the early 2000s, she wrote a lot of books, and she's still writing now. But I was working in a restaurant maybe in 2010, and one of the other servers was working there, and we sort of formed a book club about Marian Keyes at the time. And because of like reading her books, she really impacted my, I would say, my voice, the way she writes about like darker things with a lot of levity, and she, like, her books deal with grief. Like this one book deals heavily with grief, but it's very, very honest and relatable and funny, like in a lot of ways as well. So I just love that sort of mix of all the different types of.
Yeah. And that seems to be kind of a theme, is handling heavy topics with a sense of humor.
I think that's, I'm noticing that now that I'm going through my books. I'm like, I didn't really think that there was a theme, but going through it now, I'm noticing that.
I love that. Okay. And then the next one.
The next one is 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. And this is the most heartbreaking novel I've ever read in my life. Like, I really, truly had a hangover from it when it gave me my first book hangover, where I was just kind of like, it's like, what's wrong? And I was just sort of pointing at the book, like, this is like, it did this to me. Yeah. And it's like, it was so like heartbreaking, but also like so heartwarming, just how these women came together to support each other in such a way. It's almost like a friendship story, but almost a mother-daughter story. And I've just never really read a book that impacted me in that way.
I read this one. It just felt important when I read it. Like, I just remember it has like this weight to it, after I finished it. So I know what you mean by like the hangover. It is important. It's devastating. It's heartbreaking, but I totally see what you're saying. On the flip side, there's that friendship, the warmth that comes with it as well. And I've read both the Kite Runner as well as 1,000 Splendid Suns, and they're heavy books, but the message is so powerful when you get through it to the end as well.
For sure. Yeah. Like I don't think I could read it too often in life, but like, it's one of those, you read it once and that's enough, but
it stays with you.
It stays with you, and it's
I did read both of those as well, and I think the thing that I loved about the 1,000 Splendid Suns was I thought it was so beautiful how the author created kind of these parallels between all these women's stories. And but so there was like a really beautiful cadence to the story. There was like almost a element of karma or something like that, the like full circle moments in that story that were really beautiful. And also I just thought that it was the perfect story to illustrate a circumstance in the world that's happening. And so, I mean, Afghanistan at that point in time, there are so many books that are historical fictions of World War II. And you don't get a lot of historical fictions in English about these kind of struggles and triumphs that are happening, especially in the lives of women in the Middle East. And it was so beautiful to kind of see the humanity that is present in their lives. But to see it illustrated through this story, I thought was really beautiful. So it makes so much sense to me why that's on your list. It's such a beautiful novel.
So the last one is Anxious People by Fredrik Backman. And this was just, it's an ensemble cast, but it's done so well. I love the way it's a robbery, but it's just like, it has such a light feel to, like, and it's such a camaraderie feel to it, even with the robber and like the hostages and stuff. Yeah. And just, it really inspired me to tackle some of the way I write with ensemble casts, because of how he sort of had people linked to each other in different ways. And I found it just like so funny, so engaging, and it just really impacts our little like it really highlights our little impacts on each other in a way. Oh, okay. And sort of even when you don't see what you're doing to someone, it kind of highlights that sometimes you can
just kind of the ripple effect that and the impact that one can have on others. So and again, I'm like, I haven't read that one yet, but it has been recommended to me so many times, and it's gotten so many great reviews. So I'm really happy to see it on your list. And whenever we see books come up a couple times, that's when I'm like, that's my note to pick it up and bump it up on my to be read list. And for sure on that one. So do you feel like all of these books in general you have recommended have really impacted your writing? It sounds like.
I think so. Yeah. I think that they sort of raised me into the writer that I am. So, yeah.
That's a great list. Thank you so much, Natalie.
Thank you.
It was lovely to chat with you, and we're excited to read more of your work and feature more of your work at LitJoy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the LitJoy podcast. Please remember to rate and review us.
And like a good book, recommend us to your friends.